Hey Frag fam, what is going on? I hope you guys are all doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. We're going to do another ranked list today, guys, and this is going to be top everyday wear masculine fragrances. Top 10, that is, and it is ranked as I already stated. What is an everyday wear fragrance, just in case you don't know? It's a fragrance that you would literally wear just about every day for anything. You could even think of it as a fragrance that is always appropriate. It's a scent DNA that can kind of work for whatever it is you're doing on a daily basis. I have picked out 10 fragrances out of my collection that I think are the best for this purpose. Your favorite may not be here. If it's not, don't get upset. Either I A, don't have it, or B, I don't think it should be on the list. It's just my opinion, and feel free to put down in the comments what you might think is the best everyday wear fragrance. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and please hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go down the list. We're starting at number 10 and going down to number 1. So at number 10, from Arabian Oud, this is Diwan. Arabian Oud Diwan, at least I hope that's how you say it. And this is a relatively new addition to my collection. So actually the only reason I have it at the 10th spot is because I don't have as much experience with it yet compared to what else is on the list. At a later date, this could potentially move up a list like this, but that's neither here nor there. What is this fragrance? It's basically a fresh, slightly spicy and woody fragrance. It's very, very clean, but it does have that Middle Eastern feel to it. So it's a little bit different than what we would consider fresh, woody, clean in terms of the like French style of perfumery or other styles of perfumery. And man, stuff just smells so freaking good. I got my nose on this a long time ago, way back when I kind of first discovered Arabian Oud. I just hadn't added it yet, but I finally got it now. And this is, as soon as I smelled it, I thought this is a great everyday wear fragrance, great for the office, great for, you know, your daily activities. It is undeniably masculine in my opinion, but not like super old school hair in your chest type masculine. So this can appeal to a lot of guys, young and old alike. And I know it's not something I really talk about a whole lot on this channel, but it is a compliment, Garner. This stuff smells amazing. And from the couple of times I've worn it so far, longevity is not really a problem with it either. So once again, at the 10th spot, from Arabian Oud, this is Diwan. All right, moving on to the 9th spot, from Jazada, this is Ambassador. Jazada Ambassador. So what a great everyday wear fragrance this is here. You're gonna, if you're familiar with the Sauvage DNA, you might think this is kind of a play on that. I certainly do. It's a fruitier, slightly smoother, actually a lot smoother, take on a Sauvage DNA in my opinion. I don't think it's really a clone. It just took some inspiration from it. So yeah, fruity notes. Nothing really sticks out, but you could think like maybe some of that mango kind of plum like fruity nature you might find in some fragrances. You definitely get the lavender facet to it, and the kind of peppery spiciness along with cinnamon like notes. That's where you kind of get the idea of a Sauvage, and it's woody on the dry down, woody and slightly sweet and a little bit ambery in the dry down. And that's where you get the comparison to Sauvage, but it is its own thing. I don't think it's a clone of it, but one thing's for sure, great everyday wear scent. Stuff is super pleasant to the nose. It can work for anything. It's appropriate for pretty much anything. The longevity factor is there. The compliment factor is there. So when you think about everyday wear choices, these are typically things guys look for. They want something that will be appropriate for everything, possibly get some positive attention, and last for most of the day. This one checks those boxes. But for me, just kind of falls in the 9th spot just based on maybe what I would pick more often compared to what else I have on the list. So once again, from Jazada in the 9th spot, this one here is Ambassador. All right, in the 8th spot, we've got one coming from Xerjoff, and this is going to be 40 Knots. Xerjoff, 40 Knots. Now, this one's in the 8th spot because, it's very heavy. It's a very heavy amber scent. And maybe that's not something you want as your first choice in terms of a everyday scent. And I kind of feel the same way, but boy, do I love this stuff. It smells super pleasant and I can't think of a situation where it would really be inappropriate as long as I don't overspray it. It is a powerful fragrance to my experience. But yeah, that's why I put this one on the list, just to give it something a little bit different than your average, say, fresh, woody, clean scent. So what is this fragrance, by the way? It's kind of slightly powdery and spicy. A little bit of a cinnamon-like vibe. I don't think it really smells exactly like cinnamon, but that's the vibe I get from the spiciness that's here. It's got kind of that honey, ambery kind of sweetness to it, and a little bit of saltiness. I think there's some ambergris-like notes in this. It's meant to it gives me kind of a sea breeze air, a sweet sea air kind of vibe to it. Very interesting fragrance. It is a little bit derivative from Dior Ombre Nuit, if you're familiar with that, but maybe a little less kind of evening wear like, if that makes sense. A little less elegant. It's a little more open, if that makes sense. All that being said, I think this is a great everyday option if you want something that's a little bit warmer. And again, the only reason it's a little bit further down on my top 10 list is because it may not always be my first choice, but it is something I do enjoy wearing and would consider a good everyday option. So once again, from Xerjoff, we've got 40 knots. All right, coming in the 7th spot from the House of Dior, this is Dior Homme 2020. Dior Homme 2020. I mean, this is just one of the best everyday wear fragrances on the market, in my opinion, in terms of those big name designers, at least. And you know, Dior is pretty good at putting out very classy fragrances outside of like the Sauvage. I don't consider Sauvage to be classy. But yeah, Dior Homme 2020. 100% is, if you want something of that nature for your everyday wear scent. So what is this? This is basically a fresh and vibrant woody fragrance that has a cleanliness to it. It doesn't smell soapy, but it is a clean woody fragrance. You've got lemon-like citrus in this, some elemi resin to really add this richer texture to that lemony facet that this fragrance has. And it has a clean blonde woody nature to it, very synonymous with cedar wood. And there's one thing for sure about the Dior Homme 2020 DNA, everyday wear approved, absolutely. Also, great for compliments. Does last all day on my skin. I don't know if anybody's really complained about that, but it does have a heavy amount of isogamma super, which is one of those things that tends to add a little bit of longevity to a fragrance as well as a pleasant woody smell. Really the only reason I've got it down in the 7th spot is I enjoy the smell of some of the other fragrances I have included on the list a little bit more than this one. I enjoy this, but it's not something I reach for as much as, say, some of the other stuff, or maybe the first thing that comes to mind. But this is a great everyday wear fragrance for sure. So once again, from Dior, we've got Dior Homme 2020 release. All right, let's move on to the 6th spot, and this one's coming from Mancera, and it's gonna be Vetiver Sensuel. Mancera Vetiver Sensuel. I mean, we had to try to include at least one Vetiver fragrance in there, and this I still think is pound for pound one of the easiest, most pleasant, cleanest vetiver fragrances on the market. Opens up with a wonderful, juicy combination of citruses that have a little bit of a watery feel, a little bit of mint, also adding just a little bit more character to it. And the vetiver in this is very, very clean, slightly floral vetiver, very easy to wear. This fragrance here, Compliment Garner. Great for everyday usage. It's just an appropriate, clean smelling fragrance that doesn't smell like everything else out there. And it also lasts all day long for most people. So it kind of checks all those boxes in terms of being a great everyday wear fragrance option. This fragrance is still one of my top recommendations if anybody wants to ask me for like a fragrance option that is great, easy to wear, but maybe different from everything else. This is one of the top recommendations I have still to this day. Once again, from Mancera, coming in at the 6th spot, this is Vetiver Sensuel. All right, let's move on to the 5th spot, and this one's coming from Chanel. It's gonna be Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Bleu de Chanel Parfum, and yes, I am saying the Parfum, just because I think that's the best one. But anyway, you know, Bleu de Chanel DNA kind of works anyway. The whole fragrance line is basically a fragrance line that can work for everyday usage, work for as many guys as possible, smell elegant, smell clean, smell great, and use it for just about any occasion. It is occasion appropriate, if you will. I like this one because it makes the most use of the woody facet of Bleu de Chanel versus the citrus and the aromatics that is in there. This is, to me, is the best use of the cedar sandalwood combination that I find to be present in many Chanel fragrances. I think they have their own blend of cedarwood and sandalwood that they put in a lot of their fragrances. This one to me highlights that. That's why I love Bleu de Chanel Parfum in particular so much. But we all know the effectiveness of a good Bleu de Chanel offering. Simply pick the one that speaks to you the most, whether it be the EDT, the EDP, or the Parfum, and you just can't deny that it'll always be a great everyday wear option. So coming in at the 5th spot for me, this is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. All right, coming in at the 4th spot is going to be from Louis Vuitton. It's Imagination. Louis Vuitton Imagination. Oh yeah, this one here. As soon as I got it, this one instantly became one of my top go-to fragrances for just any day wear use. Use it for anything, it'll work. This fragrance has that going for it. You want the compliment factor, it's got that. You want the longevity, it's got that. You want the easy to wear nature, you got that too. What is this? It is a fresh and slightly soapy tea fragrance loaded with lots of ambroxan, giving that woody musky feel. There is some Ceylon cinnamon in this, so that's a fresher take on cinnamon to my nose. Not quite as warm and cozy as your typical ground cinnamon smell. There is some neroli in this to add a little bit of that soapiness that I was talking about. This is just a true gem from the house of Louis Vuitton. A fragrance that does not smell like a blue fragrance, but functions like one. I think anybody can pull off a DNA like this, and this is one of the best usages of just very simple fragrance ingredients and combining them to what becomes a masterpiece combination or a perfect 10 out of 10. Maybe not a masterpiece fragrance, but it is a perfect 10 out of 10. I think this is blended to perfection. So once again, coming in at the 4th spot, this is Louis Vuitton Imagination. All right, we're up to the 3rd spot, and coming in at number 3 is going to be from Raja Parfums, and this is Isola Blu. Raja Parfums Isola Blu. Oh my goodness, this one here is still my favorite use of citrus in all the fragrances I have. Smells so good. You're getting a mandarin and grapefruit lemony combination of citrus from this fragrance. It blends beautifully with a wonderful clean lavender, and then you've just got this combination of clean, woody, and musky notes that are very, very light, but very much noticeable. I absolutely love this stuff. I do kind of reserve it more so for warmer weather use, but one thing's for sure, I feel like I can absolutely use this fragrance for anything. Incredibly classy scent that also has kind of a chill vibe to it. I love that combination of vibes I get from this fragrance. And this one here is easily one that if I was gonna break my collection down to stuff that I know I was gonna get a lot of use out of, have no problem wearing on somewhat of a regular basis, this is easily gonna fall within my top 3, which is why it is in the top 3. It's just gonna fall in the 3rd spot because the other 2 fragrances I have coming up, I just like a little bit more from a scent DNA standpoint. So once again, coming in at the 3rd spot from Raja Parfums, this is Isola Blu. All right, coming in at the 2nd spot is coming from Nishane. This is Hacivat. Nishane Hacivat. This is still a favorite of mine, but it has been dethroned, I think, as my number 1 go-to scent DNA. Used to be my number 1, it's been dethroned. You might be able to guess what it is if you've been watching my channel for a while, but we'll get to it. What is this, by the way, if you're not familiar? This is zingy, very sharp citrus with a pineapple fruitiness underneath it, a very zingy bergamot mixing with pineapple and a little bit of a dry woody patchouli combination and a lot of oak moss, adding to that dryness that this fragrance has. I love this freaking combination. Not everybody is gonna rock with that oak moss element, which they do have Nishane X for the 10-year anniversary of, well, I don't know what the line of these fragrances is called, if there is a name for them, but they got the 10-year anniversary of this, and it has a lot less of that oak moss element. So if you don't like the oak moss, try Nishane X. That might be one to go for, but I love that oak moss element. I love oak moss in fragrances. That is partially because I grew up smelling some fragrances, particularly ones that maybe my grandfather wore, that had some heavy oak moss like characteristics to them, and I enjoy those. Even though this is, like, in my opinion, 100% a summertime fragrance DNA, that's where it shines the most, I would still wear this outside of it. The only reason I don't is because I got a massive collection and I wear a lot of other stuff. Particularly when it cools off, I take the opportunity to wear some of those fragrances that are better for cooler weather. But if none of that was the case with me, Hacivat will get worn all the time, no questions asked. So once again, from the Shane, this is Hacivat coming in at the second spot. All right, guys, and my number one easy to wear masculine smelling fragrance is going to be from Marc-Antoine Barras, and this is Ganymede. Marc-Antoine Barras, Ganymede. So listen, oh my goodness. I don't know what it is about this scent DNA that just speaks to me the way this one does, but I freaking love the stuff. And if I was gonna go down to one fragrance in my entire collection, which I would never do, but if I had to, Ganymede is always gonna be one of the top ones to be considered to be kept, and it probably would win out. Because there's something about this where I just love every facet of the fragrance. It kind of speaks to me in terms of who I am. I think it just kind of exudes a vibe that I like to exude on a regular basis. And on top of that, you got the compliment factor with it. You got the longevity factor. So it kind of checks a lot of those boxes as well. Similar to Hacivat, by the way, if you like Ganymede too, but there's certain elements of it you just don't wish weren't there. What is it? Bois Imperial from Essential Parfums is a cleaner version of this that a lot of people definitely like, and it's cheaper too. So win-win there. So what is this? If you're not familiar, it's a very unique scent DNA where it's mineralic. It has a mandarin orange kind of feel. It's quite dry and a little bit woody as well. It has this interesting characteristic to where when it dries down, I almost get this kind of burnt sugary kind of smell. And I believe that's the Immortelle in here. Immortelle, depending on how it's used, can give off a lot of different characteristics. I think that's how I experience it from this scent. And also a lot of saffron here giving way to a little bit of a suede-like leathery characteristic. I think that might be the thing that's in the original Ganymede, a combination of the Immortelle and the saffron that maybe throws some people off to it a little bit, and that Bois Imperial uses less of to make it a little bit of a cleaner version. All that being said, people have been doing their own takes on a Ganymede DNA, so there's no denying that this scent DNA is popular with a certain subset of guys, and for me, it's my number one easily because I can wear this to anything. It's appropriate for all occasions, and I just absolutely love the way I feel when I wear this juice. It just, I don't know, it defines me in some kind of way, if that makes sense. So that's why it's my number one for everyday use, and of course, it is a masculine DNA, at least it is to me. So once again, from Marc-Antoine Barras, this is Ganymede. All right, guys, that was my top 10 everyday wear masculine fragrances. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this list here, and what would be your top 10 or top 3 if you don't want to list 10 of them, everyday wear masculine fragrances. Would love to see what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I'll see you all in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.